So very significant news coming out of UP. The Allahabad High Court has quashed the detention order passed against Dr. Kafeel Khan in his detention under the National Security Act, or the NSA, that draconian law which allows preventive detention. Now, the Allahabad High Court today has said that the detention of Khan, which is in connection with a speech given by him on 12th December 2019 at Aligarh Muslim University, that the detention was not sustainable in the eyes of the law and was in fact illegal. Now, what is this all about? Obviously, Kafeel Khan is someone one knows about because of the whole incident a few years ago where with the Gorakhpur lack of oxygen, and he's someone who's been a constant critic of the government, even though he was even jailed back then for that. Now, he was one of the leading voices against the Citizenship Amendment Act, and in fact, when he gave this speech, which is in question here, it was at that time, it hadn't yet been passed into law, and it was still the Citizenship Amendment Bill, or the CAB. Now, the CAA obviously has come in for a lot of criticism. Khan is one of those who made a lot of speeches about it. This speech which he gave at AMU on 12th December 2019, the UP police insist that this speech incited hatred, it incited violence, it was against national integration of India, and that it was something which was trying to encourage public disorder and rioting. Now, this is the claim which they made, and they also took specific exception to the fact that he mentioned that Mota Bhai wants to divide Hindus and Muslims in India and not let us just be human. Now, this was the basis for the original police case against Khan for that speech. And in that case, however, even though there had been a very dramatic thing where he was in Bombay and he was picked up by the police and transported to Aligarh, he was released on bail because the courts found that that was justified in that case. However, even though he was released on bail according to the courts, the actual prison authorities didn't release him, the police didn't allow him to be released, and within a few days of that order, so 10th February was when he was granted bail, he was not released till the 13th of February, and then on the 13th of February, the district magistrate in Aligarh passed an order under the National Security Act. Now, this allows preventive detention of someone who's considered to be a threat to public order. They can be detained for up to a year, but you have to do it in sort of 3-month tranches, and that's sort of what has happened here. It's been extended twice for Kafeel Khan, in fact, most recently on the 22nd of August. So now the High Court was looking at all of this, the original order, the extensions, and trying to decide whether or not they were valid based on a habeas corpus petition which had been filed by Kafeel Khan's mother. So that's the sort of background to all of this. Now, remember what we said, that the police say this speech incited hatred, incited violence, and that's what this whole case is about. The High Court examined that, and they said that, we have to look and see whether a reasonable person would actually come to the same conclusion. And they said that no reasonable person would actually come to the conclusion that the district magistrate did about that speech by Kafeel Khan, and and therefore it had to be set aside. So let's look at what they specifically said about this speech. Again, remember, the police say incited hatred, incited violence, was against national integration. And now look what the court said, because the High Court actually went through the whole transcript of the speech, not just some parts of it, and they actually have reproduced the whole text of the speech in the judgment, which you can read the whole text of that speech on the Quint's website. Now, what the High Court has found about the speech after assessing it they say, and I quote, "A complete reading of the speech, prima facie, does not disclose any effort to promote hatred or violence. It also nowhere threatens peace and tranquility of the city of Aligarh. The address gives a call for national integrity and unity among the citizens. The speech also deprecates any kind of violence. It appears that the district magistrate had selective reading and selective mention for few phrases from the speech, ignoring its true intent." So what the court is basically saying is that when the district magistrate said this speech is something which is so dangerous and that it requires him to be locked up under the NSA, there was actually no basis for that. And in fact, everything in the speech, when you look at it as a whole, goes against what the police are saying. And this is obviously something we've seen with whether it was Harsh Mandar's speech or Umar Khalid's speeches, or even some claim even with Sharji Imam. But the main point being that when it comes to this case, the court has now held that the speech given by Kafeel Khan was taken out of context and doesn't actually, and in fact, if you look at the whole thing, it doesn't justify any case under the NSA. Now, we look at other things which the courts looked at. They looked at the fact that Kafeel Khan was not given all the things which he was supposed to from the material which the police was supposed to give, whether it was his detention order, whether it was the extension orders, whether it was even the transcript which the court had, but they just gave him a CD without even a CD player to be able to listen to it and prepare his defense on that basis. So in light of all of this, was part of the reasons why the court said, now there's no material on record to show that he's actually a threat to Aligarh. And they also noted that, this detention order was only passed, suddenly after the bail hearing went against the government there, and he was enlarged on bail by the court in February. So that was when suddenly you had this order happen. So very, very strong observations. They've said that therefore not only that the original order for detention, the extensions were not sustainable in the eyes of the law. They said it was illegal basically from the start. That's obviously something which we're going to be keeping on tracking, including whether or not this now goes to the Supreme Court, whether the UP government appeals. So stay tuned to the Quint for all the updates.